The vanishing crew of the Arctic Research Station. The Aurora Borealis Research Station rose above the ice like a gleaming sentinel, isolated against endless white expanses and whistling winds. Metal walls groaned under constant frost, each breath of the Arctic wind a voice whispering secrets the crew pretended not to hear. Inside, the crew moved with mechanical precision, their laughter hollow, echoing off the steel corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Lars, the lead meteorologist, traced his finger along frost-patterned windows, watching the aurora ripple, painting the interior in green spectral light. A faint hum of generators filled the station, vibrating through floor and bone, a monotonous heartbeat against the Arctic's unforgiving silence. Outside, snow swirled violently, the horizon disappearing, as though the world itself was being swallowed by white oblivion. Meals were quiet, rehearsed rituals. Hands trembling slightly, eyes darting to shadows that seemed almost alive in aurora light. A radio crackled unexpectedly, a distorted, static-filled voice barely forming words, carrying urgency and fear before dissolving into eerie silence. The aurora pulsed with unnatural rhythm, casting long shifting shadows that warped the familiar walls into alien shapes. Dmitri, the engineer, joked to hide unease, but his voice cracked, trembling against the wind's howl outside the reinforced walls. Footsteps echoed where no one walked. Fleeting reflections flickered across icy windows, never matching the movements of the crew inside. Snowdrifts began to pile aggressively against the station's entrance, as if the Arctic itself tried to erase human presence. A half-written logbook lay abandoned, its ink smeared, pages curling like frost-bitten leaves refusing to preserve memory. Lars noticed figures in the aurora's glow outside, standing still, distant, impossible to approach, yet impossibly human in proportion. The crew's final transmissions became fragmented, whispers on the radio overlapping their own voices in terrified repetition, impossible to decipher fully. Footsteps in corridors multiplied, impossible to track, voices overlapping, laughter and sobs merging, as though the station itself breathed uneasily. A sudden icequake shuddered the ground. Dishes rattled, instruments tilted, yet no collapse occurred, leaving only an ominous tremor in its wake. Outside, the aurora shifted colors violently, green becoming deep violet, then black streaks as if signaling a warning or observing silently. The investigation team arrived weeks later, expecting disaster. Instead, the station stood untouched, frozen meals, instruments humming, absence filled with dread. Snow crunched under boots, the silence overwhelming, broken only by distant ice cracking like brittle bones in the Arctic night. Inside, coats hung neatly, shoes paired, beds slept in, but the warmth of human presence had vanished entirely. Files on desks displayed ongoing experiments. Thermometers fluctuated erratically, ice cores marked anomalous readings, yet no one remained to interpret them. A music box played faintly on a table, Wayne-driven, or powered by residual electricity, casting strange shadows on frosted walls. No signs of struggle were evident. Doors locked from the inside, windows intact, the station a perfect, haunting preservation of absence. Dimitri's tools lay in order, some half-used, implying tasks abandoned motion, frozen mid-thought by something unseen. Aurora ripples outside intensified, green and violet undulating, as if alive, painting the snow and ice in unnatural patterns of motion. The team's leader, Anya, felt eyes on her constantly, though no one stood near. The silence seemed almost sentient. Faint scratching noises echoed through ducts and vents, irregular yet purposeful, impossible to locate, as though the station itself was breathing. A thermographic camera revealed heat signatures in empty hallways, fleeting, irregular, human-shaped, fading as quickly as they appeared. Footsteps mirrored the team's movements in other rooms, always just behind, a delayed echo of human presence long gone. Each corridor smelled of metal, ozone, and something decayed beneath the ice, an odor the mind couldn't fully place. A half-eaten meal in the cafeteria remained, food frozen mid-chew, utensils perfectly positioned, as if the crew vanished mid-motion. Outside, wind carried whispers, indistinct yet urgent, like Arctic spirits warning intruders away, layered beneath the aurora's hypnotic glow. Data logs revealed increasing tremors, rising temperatures under ice shelves, and inexplicable electromagnetic anomalies correlated with aurora activity. A team member swore he saw a crewman through frosted windows, waving frantically, only to vanish when approached. The aurora shimmered violently, green lightning slicing the sky, reflecting against steel walls and snow in surreal, disorienting patterns. Anya traced footprints in frost outside. Some human, some impossible, larger, irregular, distorted, leading nowhere and everywhere at once. Instruments recorded vocal frequencies in empty halls, whispers, cries, laughter, all overlapping, resembling the crew yet impossibly warped. The station's freezer hummed unusually, emitting a low, resonant vibration that seemed to reverberate through bone and psyche alike. Sleep became impossible. The aurora's rhythm seeped into dreams, eyes opening to green and violet streaks crawling across ceilings. A sudden windstorm forced evacuation protocols. Yet once outside, the aurora seemed to follow, curling over the station like sentient fog. Maps indicated no natural entry point. Crevasses and snow bridges offered no explanation for disappearance or spectral footprints observed. The team's cameras captured fleeting reflections, human shapes twisted by light, faces elongated, eyes blacked out, shifting with aurora pulses. A radio transmission crackled suddenly, repeating a single distorted word, "Return," looping endlessly before fading to static. Corridors bent unnaturally, shadows extending beyond logical angles, as if the aurora itself had warped space and time inside the station. Food supplies remained intact. Meals left unfinished, a clock frozen at 3:17 a.m., time itself seemingly halted by unseen forces. A journal entry detailed the crew's paranoia, hallucinations under aurora light, and an unspoken dread that something watched and waited. Frost patterns on walls grew intricate, almost glyphic, pulsing faintly under aurora illumination, impossible to decipher yet undeniably purposeful. Footprints appeared on windows. Outside, deep snow showed no disturbance, defying physics and common sense in chilling contrast. A recorder captured breathing where none existed, synchronized to the aurora's flickering, a cadence neither human nor animal. Dimitri's personal log ended mid-sentence. "It watches." We abruptly cut off, frozen like the rest of the station. Aurora storms escalated, green and violet streaks dancing, coiling into shapes resembling humans, then dissolving into abstract terror above ice fields. The investigation team began arguing, suspicion festering. Some feared the aurora itself might influence thoughts, bending perception against reality. One member vanished in a supply room. Footsteps retraced alone, ending abruptly at the freezer, leaving only a lingering chill. Electronic devices malfunctioned. Compasses spun, cameras failed, thermometers fluctuated impossibly, as though the aurora disrupted both nature and machinery. Hallways stretched longer than before, doors opened to impossible distances, lights flickered in patterns resembling messages too cryptic to read. A solitary boot appeared on the roof, covered in frost, no matching pair, no sign of who or what placed it. Voices repeated in whispers, calling names of the dead crew, soft yet urgent, echoing through walls thick with steel and ice. Aurora reflections in icy floors revealed shapes behind investigators, visible only in light, vanishing when approached, leaving behind faint frost imprints. The team attempted to radio support. Signals were distorted, repeating unintelligible syllables, interlaced with low-frequency hums resonating through bone. Anya recorded all observations, her handwriting growing erratic, descriptions of shadows, whispers, and lights intensifying, a slow descent into obsession. Sudden blizzard forced retreat into the observation dome. Aurora danced overhead, green and violet streaks coiling like living serpents. Footsteps approached from empty halls, circling silently, stopping when confronted, leaving the sound of breathing where no one stood. The station's log tapes played backward. Fragments of conversation, distress, and laughter warped beyond recognition, like voices in a nightmare. Ice cores collected by the crew showed anomalies. Trapped air pockets resonating faint pulses, synchronized with aurora rhythms. Snow outside shifted unnaturally. Tracks formed and reformed in patterns suggesting deliberate design, almost ritualistic, yet alien in origin. The last meal in the galley decayed rapidly, food turning black, emitting faint whispers that matched aurora flickers. Aurora lights seemed to project shapes onto walls, elongated figures with faceless heads, frozen mid-motion, watching investigators tirelessly. A camera left recording captured a figure behind Anya in the reflection, disappearing when she spun around, leaving only frost vapor. Dimitri's tools were found outside, arranged in impossible geometric patterns, frozen mid-air, defying both physics and reason. A low hum filled the station, continuous and vibrating, emanating from walls, floors, and ceiling, perfectly synchronized with aurora pulses. Investigators became disoriented. Hallucinations intertwined with reality, lights and shadows, merging into a world unrecognizable under the northern sky. Frost expanded rapidly inside rooms, delicate patterns overtaking instruments, logs and walls, as if the Arctic claimed the station inch by inch. Aurora ripples intensified overhead, casting human-like shadows across ice fields, twisting reality, bending perception, merging nightmare with memory and history. The final transmission from the team cut abruptly. Static screamed, then silence, as aurora light flickered violently outside the observation dome. No bodies were ever found, no footprints led away. Only the aurora lingered, watching, pulsing, as if the Arctic had devoured them. Snowstorm subsided. The station stood untouched, silent, instruments humming faintly, aurora dancing above like a predator waiting patiently for the next observer. Time ceased to feel relevant. The Arctic preserved memory in ice, shadow, and light, leaving the human mind fractured and haunted. The aurora's glow painted endless green and violet streaks across walls, floors, and windows, a permanent, silent reminder of vanished lives. A single pair of footprints led into the snow outside, disappearing under shifting drifts, the aurora reflecting off ice, eternal and watchful. The station remains a legend, whispered among Arctic explorers, a place where human presence vanished, leaving only light, shadow, and answered questions. Visitors report faint whispers beneath aurora light, footsteps behind closed doors, and shapes flickering in frost. A timeless echo of disappearance. Green and violet lights continue to ripple across ice fields at night, impossible to measure or predict, almost aware of observers. Aurora shadows sometimes mimic human movements. Reflections in ice appear briefly, always gone before recognition, leaving unease and questions unanswered in silence. Even decades later, explorers speak quietly, glancing at aurora lights overhead, feeling the same dread, as if the station still watches. Snowstorms obscure footprints, erase tracks, yet aurora patterns linger, hinting at a presence neither alive nor dead, neither fully comprehensible nor accidental. The vanishing crew remains a puzzle, unsolved and unprovable, preserved by Arctic cold and aurora light in eternal haunting ambiguity. Some swear that the aurora itself remembers the crew, replaying shapes, whispers, and shadows for those foolish enough to watch too long. No investigation can explain the missing team, nor the frozen meals, shifting footprints, or whispers beneath the aurora's green and violet glow. The Arctic holds its secrets well. The aurora bears witness silently, flickering, pulsing, echoing the horror of human curiosity and vanished life. And in the last frame of memory, a lone shadow beneath the aurora stares back at the observer, impossibly still, eternally patient.